Trauma. Yikes, right? I know it sounds intense, but bear with me because it does not have to be a bummer. Everybody has trauma. Everybody. And that's why it's so important to talk about. Birth, that's traumatic. Not just for the baby, but for everyone in that room. Ask your parents. Puberty? Absolutely traumatic. Your first love? Mine definitely was. You don't have to feel broken to have something that you need to heal. Most of us are walking around carrying things that we've picked up along the way that we don't even realize. That weird quirk that he just kind of laughs off, that could be a trauma response. Even your favorite movie villain probably has some childhood trauma that they've wonderfully cloaked in an absolutely fantastic outfit. And trauma doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't require a war zone or some great catastrophe. Sometimes it slips in the most soft voices, our communities, our families, the stories we tell ourselves. But here's the thing, absolute magic happens when you start understanding it. When you heal trauma and start to become whole, there's love, laughter, and absolute joy. So I'm here today to ask, what does it mean to heal? What does it mean to become whole? Not just who we were, but who we were meant to be.
Come with me while we cook with strangers and learn about their lives together. My name is Anand, and this is Kindred Kitchen. Paige is a friend of a friend of a friend. And she's had her own pretty deep journey with healing her own trauma. It's why she's dedicated her life to being a coach, coaching others so that they can have the best lives possible. Today, we're meeting at a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend's bar. Ironically, an amazing place for people to avoid their own trauma. But look at these mocktails, they're just so gorgeous.
You know, and it's interesting when we think about it because the word trauma, I think, has become culturally diffuse, right? It's been hacked in a lot of ways. We now use trauma and we hear trauma a lot, right? For any number of things.
Yes, that traumatic customer service experience.
That's exactly right. I went to Starbucks and it was so traumatizing. I mean, right? And not to belittle anyone's experience, but just to say that this has become a word now that is so familiar that it's almost become trite.
Yeah.
And yet, the benefit of it becoming more common in our vernacular is that we now are actually able to communicate about something that only a decade ago was not a part of common conversations.
Right.
And so where I think, so we've kind of like oscillated, but I think that we have an opportunity to come to greater understanding of trauma and to be able to speak about it if we're open. With greater information, with greater honesty and authenticity, to be able to understand what is it that is distressing me. Right? What is my psychological experience? What is even my cultural experience?
I know I seem like a very happy and nice person, but when I get in traffic, I turn into something else.
Yes.
I get angry, I get really mean toward people.
Yes.
Is that trauma?
Well, here's what I would say, right? What I would say is, let's get curious.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So for me, the approach is first consciousness, right? So you're noticing that you're having this reaction in traffic. Right? And the fact that you're aware of it, to me, is a sign of maturity, of emotional maturity, right?
Sure.
But so you're conscious of it, and then you begin to get curious. And you ask, right, what's actually happening? How is this manifesting in me, right? That anger or the aggression, right, that's coming up. Is this related to something that's happening specifically in traffic or something that's happened previously to me? Is there someone in this scenario? Is it taking me somewhere else? right?
Yeah.
And then I believe the next step would then be to be compassionate with yourself around it. But I mean, for me, I can't say to you, your response in traffic is definitely trauma, and then we would leave it there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that would be a conversation that we would have.
It smells like trauma, so it must be.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paige has invited me home to cook a dish that happens to be really connected to her story: shrimp and grits. And it just so happens to be one of my favorite dishes. So I'm excited to show her my version of it while she tells us more of her own story.
When I was in the process of coming out, I was having significant gastrointestinal issues, which when we have a dysregulated nervous system, a lot of times what will happen is we will have stomach issues. And at the time, I did not realize that my being closeted had so much to do with the way that I was reacting to the food that I was eating. And so I, for about 6 months, was just in intense pain every time I would eat. And interestingly, shrimp and grits was something that didn't create the same kind of response. I mean, grits itself, right, is just something that's so mild. And easy on the system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, today we're going to be doing this with peppers and tomatoes and spices. So this would not be for someone who's necessarily in the same space, but these flavors I was able to incorporate as I healed. And when I say healed, I mean as I healed physically and emotionally, because there is such an intense connection between our mind and our body, between our psyche and our soma. So I had raised Southern Baptist in the Panhandle and felt called to the ministry from an early age. And thought that what that would require of me, right, not having ever seen a female pastor, which is what I wanted to do, thought that what that required of me was to be a youth pastor or a teaching pastor or a children's pastor. Could I stay in the Southern Baptist Church? I didn't know, but I, out of college, went into the mission field, which is interesting because my whole worldview and understanding, right, paradigm on religion as culture has shifted. But at the time, conversion was emphasized, right? So converting the lost. And so I went to Southeast Asia and worked for a church. It was interesting because I'd just gone to Palestine and Israel, and I got back and I met this man who was a pastor at a church in Singapore, and he said, and he looked at me and he said, "Paige Rawson, you're the most spirit-filled person I've ever met." And he's like, so this is a...
So that hasn't changed.
But here's what's so wild though, right? Anand, is that he's like, you're the one, this is a David Samuel anointing. God has called you to this. And I said, well, can I pray about that and make sure that's how I feel as well? And sure enough, I went to Southeast Asia, and I began slowly to, just the anxiety, the culture shock, I think, the people-pleasing performance, really wanting to please that pastor, to please God. I had left the woman that I was involved with and was longing for her, was lonely. I, at the time, was keeping all of this in the closet. Every relationship that I had was a relationship that I was hiding. Anyway, so while I'm there, I break down one night at an all-night prayer meeting. And mind you, there's this thing also happening to me. I'm having an existential crisis because I'm also making friends with people who are Muslim and Buddhist and who are free thinkers, who are Hindu. And I'm realizing that they're more Christian than any of the Christians that I've ever known.
Yeah, more Christ-like.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Christ-like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and I say Christian, I mean like what I would imagine this life is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I shared with my pastor and his wife that I had struggled with homosexual thoughts all of my life, and that I also struggled to believe if Jesus was the only way. That I didn't know that it was ethical for me to try to convert people who had been raised in a different culture, whose God had a different name, or they experienced God in a different way, and they immediately told me that I was possessed by a demon of homosexuality and a demon of unbelief. And so this was only confirming messages that I previously had believed to be true, that I was depraved, that I was diabolical, that I was not good enough, that and so I went in at that point to reparative therapy, and I went through Love One Out, Exodus.
Reparative therapy is the same thing as conversion therapy.
That's exactly right. Yes. Right? That idea of not good.
Yeah.
It will stick with you and it will eat you inside out. And so when we talk about the body keeping the score,
that's what was
it's
happening
very
with your
appropriate
stomach.
that we're standing here in my kitchen, surrounded by this beautiful food.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly what happened. It was like my body was at war within itself. And so I was being attacked from the outside and from the inside out. So I came back stateside 3 years after I had been in Southeast Asia and was still in the midst of these ethical quandaries, also continuing to stay in reparative therapy. But my health got so bad that I could no longer ignore it, and which is often that rock bottom. And so I was hospitalized, and during that month, I was diagnosed with C. diff and appendicitis and Crohn's disease, and anyway, there's a laundry list.
Wow.
But also during that time, what happened was there was a physical therapist who I'd known earlier in my life and happened to be the only lesbian in our community. And so it was wild because I had such ambivalent feelings about her.
Yeah.
Because I was drawn to her and kind of in awe of her, but also scared. Of
her.
I
understand.
And what she represented, and also what she was sort of inviting me into before us even
triggering your own trauma.
Absolutely. And even as a child, right? I want this thing, but I can't. So that. And so she came in to visit me, and she knew that I had a girlfriend at the time who was coming in to stay with me in the evenings. She came in to visit me, and she looked at me in the eyes and held my hands. And she said, "Paige, God loves you just the way you are." And I just lost it. I was bawling because I felt finally seen.
Yeah.
And she didn't even have to say, "I know you're gay, you're queer."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She didn't have to name any of it. She just needed to be with me, see me, and know that the thing that I truly needed to hear to unlock the healing was you're loved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was what sent me on this course of self-love and self-compassion and self-understanding and exploration, and also what led me to want to study, legitimately study all of the things that had been weaponized and used against me. So I did what a lot of queer people do who come from really conservative places and spaces where they can't be themselves. I decided that I was gonna move all the way to the Bay Area. Hallelujah.
I have no idea what that's like. So
No, right.
So you're a coach, not a therapist.
Right.
How come? Is it because coaches make more money? So yes.
What are you suggesting? Well, okay. Well, you understand me better than I thought you did.
Well,
yeah.
see right through you. Butter here if you want to moisturize your face.
It's gonna be really good. I love it. Good.
It's kind of funny because
I really do have butter all over my hands right now.
Oh, it's amazing,
so
right?
Nice. Wow.
Nice and
soothing touches.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes. Self-love.
Yeah,
Butter is self-love.
Right now.
Okay, so we've heard about how this helps us on the individual level, but what about the bigger picture? Self-love is great, but I'm not sure how much loving myself is gonna help in a world that just feels like it's getting angrier and hatier. The church is part of your story of trauma.
Yes.
But it's also part of a lot of people's story of how they deal with trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm curious your perspective, especially like, you know, with your family and everything. Yeah. What do you
The ways
feel
that the
about
church
that?
functions?
Yeah. You like a little spicy?
Yeah, come on. Let's
All right,
do
let's
it.
go.
Let's do it. I think that there's a possibility if we can find spaces, religious spaces, where we're not continuing to be segregated.
Oh, interesting.
Are you
Where you're
with
not
me?
being
Because I
segregated
think-
in
'Cause
terms of social classes
yes,
instead of, yeah.
I think in terms of race, I think gender, I think, and this is what becomes difficult because most religions, right, being cultural, they identify as this one thing, and it's difficult to have people in this space who are actually coming from very different perspectives.
Yeah.
And then taking part in this ritual together.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're in need of healing that is, at this point in our cultural moment, and have always been in need of healing, that is moving beyond the individual into the communal. And it's hard to know exactly what that looks like, because I think religious institutions have traditionally been the means for people to find healing. And yet I think we need a next level of healing because I think are experiencing something on a social level
Yeah.
that can only be addressed when we engage with our perceived other.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting.
Are you?
Yeah, it requires the other to heal.
Yes.
So I'm curious then,
Yes.
especially with like,
Because even in individual healing,
yeah.
and I don't want to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but I'm
please.
thinking, right, because so much of what the healing is being able to go to the places that scare you.
Yeah.
Being able to return to what you have repressed, to what you have exiled, and
Yeah.
working internal family systems, right, is going to that place and befriending that part of you.
Yeah.
So then what does it mean on a cultural level,
Yeah.
to befriend the others?
So in this situation, so I'm wondering, you know, there are so many communities that have hurt one another,
That's right.
right? And,
That's right.
and so first of all, like, is there such a thing as like culture,
Yeah.
societal trauma?
Yeah.
Like we're an entire group, you know, I'm thinking
Collective
about,
trauma.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like
Communal
9/11
trauma.
happened when I was little, and it was clear we as a country were traumatized from it, you know?
Yes.
Like how does that work if it is a thing?
Yes, and the result then was, unfortunately, the demonizing of an entire population of people,
Yeah.
right? Communal trauma or collective trauma is a real thing. 9/11, I agree with you. 9/11 is a great example. I think what's happened with the pandemic is a great example. I think the transatlantic slave trade and the enslavement of African people is a great example. Jim Crow, right? I mean, we're still experiencing repercussions here in Florida now.
Yeah.
Collective or communal trauma when we see what's happening in Florida
Yeah.
around critical race theory.
Yeah.
And right, I mean, really talking about what enslavement was, that,
Yeah.
that there's a way in which a certain type of gaslighting is happening in the process of this revision.
Absolutely. Well, so I'm curious with like, you know, critical race theory and stuff like that. Like, to me, it kind of goes into how there's a loss of privilege happening, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like I oftentimes hear people talking about it from the perspective of like, boo-hoo. These people have had privilege, or they've had, you know.
So you're saying from the side of a more liberal perspective,
Right.
It's so hard.
But-
these
but-
labels. Go ahead.
You know, when privilege is being lost, that is painful for the people
Yes.
experiencing it.
Yes.
Like
it is still a threat to their livelihood, to their very existence, to their understanding of reality.
It might
That's
not be objectively painful for other people to understand easily, but it is subjectively very painful.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, I'm curious about how that factors into is what we're seeing, the divisions of our country.
Yep.
Is that a trauma response?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If we were to use the language of trauma and trauma, right, and trauma healing as a framework, I believe, speaking of a way forward, I think we have a chance, right? Because it's going to require a level of empathy for the other that. So this is where it gets hard. Right?
Yeah.
Because this is also requiring more of those of us who have been marginalized, those of us who have been oppressed, those of us who have already been victim to. There is anger for good reason. And that anger needs to be expressed. That anger needs to be expressed in communities where it's safe for us to be able to do so. For us then to move from that place of anger, right? And this is a part of grief and working through trauma. For us to be able to have the capacity for empathy, or for empathy for those who have been in many ways representative of our oppression, of violence against us, of our trauma, right? They're the faces of trauma in so many ways. It becomes a real big ask.
And that's the part I'm having some trouble with, honestly, is like, it's not all on the people who have faced the oppression to help people that are dealing with the loss of privilege, right? So, but then what is the role of everyone?
So then who holds space for them, and how do they,
how do you hold it properly? How do you actually make it a moment of empathy rather than a moment of othering?
Yes. No, it's so true. I do think that it, as we were talking about the conversations that we're having, how to open these conversations up in a way that welcomes discussion, that welcomes humility. Right? I think that the first step has to be that this place is a safe place for you. That
meaning for both people.
You.
Yes.
You.
All y'all.
You. And so there have to be rules of engagement.
Oh, interesting.
There have to be rules of engagement. Because we have to know that in coming into this relationship, in coming into this conversation, we're not going to, and this is it, right? When that trauma gets triggered and we get inflamed and we get agitated. This is what often blocks us from further.
That's a steep ask for a lot of people. That's a really steep ask. Yes. That's not good.
Right on.
Yes.
Right on.
I mean, would you agree with this? What I'm hearing is that one of the first steps that we can do better as a society is stop dismissing one another.
Invalidating, absolutely.
And just validate it for a second, see if you can deal with it or not, and then move from there.
That's
if you can't deal with it, walk away.
That's exactly
But if you can, sit with it and talk to them. And speak from a place of compassion.
Yes.
Right?
Which is why, right, going back to those 3 C's, which I feel like are so helpful. But
3 C's?
Which are first to become conscious of something, to be curious. And so when we ask those questions and we want to understand someone's experience, that it would not be an interrogation, which is the same thing that then we do with ourselves, rather than, that's that negative self-talk that's highly critical, which we all have that critic in our heads, right? Sitting at our table, right? And we get to decide how much space they get. But so we move into a space of curiosity. Tell me more about that. What does that feel like? I wonder where it's coming from, right? Those really beautiful questions that can open up opportunity, conversation, and collaboration. And then finally, it's right in doing so, then we're offering compassion. To ourselves and to others.
And this is how you approach other people as well as yourself.
Always. Always.
That's really beautiful. I think that this is almost ready. Do we want to taste it?
Yes.
Yeah? Let's get some spoons.
Okay.
Give it a little taste. Go for it.
Oh.
Yeah?
Right?
It's not bad. Well, really good. Very good. Maybe a little bit of salt.
Okay.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. It's got a good kick too.
That's a full body yes for me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a full body.
An embodied yes. All right. Okay, so we gotta get conscious, curious, and compassionate toward ourselves, toward others, and for everything that we know we can and that we can't do. Sounds great, but that sounds really, really hard. And I still don't know what it looks like. Maybe it looks like Paige. I don't know. She seems genuinely really happy.
Feels like home to me. Feels like home to me.
Oh my goodness, the pipe.
Feels like oh. No, I'm not. That was loud. I almost.
I
got
love it.
Almost got it. The word, right? The etymology of this word means whole. Means
Feeling
whole. So it's interesting, right, that many of us need to come full circle. I think healing for me is wholeness. It is true to the actual meaning of that word, that it is a full process. It is a whole process. That while I may have been for years avoiding this thing because I needed to preserve my peace, right? We hear many therapists and others talk about boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? The preservation of my peace requires me to separate, to distance myself, to estrange, right? But there's also an invitation, potentially, if and when we feel ready to come back. When I think about conversion therapy and reparative therapy, right, the idea was that I was not good enough as I was, that I had to change or conform to be acceptable in God's sight.
Yeah.
And then I realized, this is who I am. I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
And that is good, right? Our psychosocial development, right? Those stages, right? 3 to 5 that I questioned. Am I good?
Yeah.
That we question.
Yeah.
And coming to that place of,
Yes.
and this thing is a beautiful part of my journey and my story and my becoming and my wholeness.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's so
Absolutely.
powerful. I mean, so one of the things that excites me about what you're doing, and that I think and I hope that we are seeing a shift toward a desire to be able to engage in conversation.
Yeah.
Right, rather than just attacking back and forth, because that would then also prove our own, collectively, our own psychosocial development as a society. Yeah. Right? Can we move beyond these petty tantrums?
Yeah.
Can we really understand one another? Can we seek that, right? Understanding rather than continuing to go tit for tat, back and forth. Because you do see this often, right? In our political system, there's the pendulum swinging back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. And so, like, for instance, how do I look at in 2016 the Women's March in response to Trump's presidency or Trump's inauguration versus what happened on January 6th in the response to Biden now, and just then on the heels of us entering into a pandemic, right? So it's important, I think, to think about these responses. And then you think about also the Black Lives Matter movement, right? These are responses to a collective trauma that need to be understood in that way. Yeah. These are people that need to be seen, right? And we need to be in solidarity with one another, right? Yeah. And so it's like, how do we understand that these are cries for help, even when they're so aggressive? Some of these manifestations have been very violent. Yeah. So how do you have? It's hard, right? I mean, how do you have compassion? Because that it really is a shift in paradigm. Yeah. Apartheid in South Africa, right? Nelson Mandela, and then we see Desmond Tutu their work was instrumental in the 90s in the disruption of and the end of this system of apartheid. And Desmond Tutu begins to write books on forgiveness, right? Desmond Tutu, great spiritual leader.
Yeah.
Right? And it amazes me the amount of humility, insight, and wisdom that it took for him to write about forgiving people who were not actually saying, I'm sorry, necessarily, right? Who were not asking for forgiveness.
Right.
And so what did he do was he tapped into and lived into forgiveness because he knew this, the forgiveness was for him.
Yeah.
It wasn't for them.
Yeah, that is the healing. That's becoming whole. He knew that there was a piece of him that would be angry or be burdened. And in order to get that piece back, he had to forgive.
Precisely. The very people that were wanting to maintain this system, in fact, were led into an otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Can we do that thing?
Yeah.
Can we do that thing?
It takes a lot of people making some big decisions.
Yeah.
And I really hope that our world has those kinds of people in it. And I hope that people really take that seriously.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I feel like we're in that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think we are. And I hope that we are not the minority.
Yeah.
Or if we are the minority, we're a loud one.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Look at the world and the unkind things that people are doing in it through the lens of trauma. We may just have a chance of building a better world. We all have trauma, and it's not about getting over it, it's about being resilient to it. And we all have the seeds of healing within us too. So if we're able to become conscious, curious, and compassionate toward ourselves and others in our lives, then we have the chance of actually making ourselves and others more resilient and stronger. Trauma is objective and subjective. It's individual and communal. So luckily, there are many ways to work with it. And luckily, that means there are many ways for us to become whole and stronger. Not just ourselves, but our whole society. Carrie has had a difficult personal journey with her own physical health. Finally, she ended up exploring alternatives to mainstream medicine when doctors just didn't have any answers for her. She now practices the same healing modalities that helped her heal, physically, mentally, and emotionally. These practices may seem unusual to some. Essential oils, vibrational healing, and emotional release, they definitely did for me when I met her. But there are many ways to heal. I was surprised to find that these are not just intuitive practices, but standardized protocols that she's used to help hundreds of people and now teaches in her beautiful healing space. Today, she's invited me to make a sweet potato and carrot soup while we discuss how the heck this all works. How do the body, mind, and heart interplay in healing? How do people notice their traumas? Because these are kind of subtle things that you're talking about. A lot of people aren't that subtle.
Well, I think if people realize that they're unhappy, that's like the most common phrase that I hear somebody say is, I'm just not happy. And it's like, okay, well, let's see why you're not happy.
Yeah.
Is it physical? Is it really emotional? And these modalities that I do, they're amazing because of how the techniques themselves help a person figure that out. So it's not me telling them, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z to be happy. I'm just doing these sort of time-tested, proven, very ancient protocols that then allow the person the space to look inside their heart and really think through what's really the issue. And then I give them some resources.
Yeah. My experience in the US and in many cultures now, no one wants to be alone with themselves. And when you are unhappy, usually you look for things outside of yourself. You say, I'm unhappy because I'm lonely. I need a girlfriend. I'm unhappy because I don't feel stable enough. I need a better job, you know? And some of those things are valid, but more often than not, I think that what you're talking about is the more pertinent part. And people just aren't looking within themselves.
Physical healing is often easier than the emotional healing, just because we have so many things distracting us, you know. It's so easy in our society to distract ourselves from going within and really paying attention to what's going on in our hearts. TV, concerts.
And it's getting easier. It's getting easier to not be with ourselves. Do you think maybe even that's why I see a lot of older folks that just aren't very happy? And I suspect part of it is the misunderstanding that loneliness can be solved by another person.
Right.
The thing is that no matter what, if you have a lifelong partner, someone's gonna go first.
Right.
You always go alone.
Right.
You came in alone and you're going alone.
Right. And, you know, that has been idealized and idolized in our culture of having one partner. And the fact is, there's a world full of people that still need love.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had one friend who used to say, just pick somebody and love them. And I thought, are you crazy? But it was really a beautiful thing she was saying.
Yeah,
like,
well,
don't wait for the perfect thing. Just start where you are and love them the best you can.
Very traditional Indian families would agree wholeheartedly with that idea. So we book the hall, just find someone.
Oh, yeah.
We're ready to cook?
We are ready. We're gonna grab this pot. This is my favorite for soup.
Excellent.
And we need to grab a little ghee.
Okay, I brought some from home.
And we
homemade
need to
ghee.
grab. That is so awesome that you made it.
Yeah.
Wow, it smells like better than that fake butter popcorn stuff.
Well, yes. Somehow it makes it more buttery. How much do we need?
Wonderful. Just let's cover the bottom. And
maybe a little bit more. In Carrie's work, using physical sensations, thoughts, and emotions to help people, she's found that what we put in our bodies directly affects our own minds and spirits too. So I'm genuinely really curious and excited to see what it is that she uses to nourish her own body. Now, she's already validated my aunt's suggestion that I eat more ghee, and I can't say I'm mad at that one.
a few more of these.
Spices.
Wonderful, delicious.
That's a lot of turmeric.
I love all the turmeric.
I'm not mad at it. So, why do you think people are so hesitant to deal with their traumas?
People are afraid to really look into themselves, and then they're afraid of rejection. And so instead of focusing on the what if I was free of this trigger or free of this sadness?
Yeah.
What would my life look like if I were free of these negative emotions? They tend to think, oh, I'll just keep that.
Yeah.
I'll just hang on to that in my back pocket a little while longer.
The known is a little easier, maybe, even than the unknown, even if it might be nicer.
And I think, too, people do get a certain amount of satisfaction from identifying with their traumas. Carrot of being free of the negatives has to be greater than the joy their perception is of holding on to the negatives. So some people really identify with what's wrong instead of saying, no, my life would be better if I identified with what is good and right.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see that. Even in myself at times too. It's I was talking to my spiritual teacher, and he was talking about how in our tradition, the place of marriage, the place of partnership is to have someone with whom to work, to do yoga, to evolve with and to grow with. And when you have difficulty with that person, your job together is in partnership to create the space in which you can work with it. What is that trigger? What is that difficulty? Why can't we get along? Why am I reacting to you that way? And it's basically trauma work is how I was able to see what he was talking about.
It takes a lot of spiritual maturity to agree to that process.
He was telling me this while I was going through a breakup, and all I could say is, but I'm not a monk. I'm not a monk. It's all true, but I'm not a monk.
Yeah.
How do you know if you have trauma?
Oh, I think people that have trauma know because they either remember the event or somebody told them an event, or they don't have peace. They live in a state of anxiety and stress.
Yeah. But, I mean, trauma doesn't always have to be a giant thing, right? Sometimes the people around you don't even know that you had a traumatic experience.
Right. Trauma can be small, and it can be as simple as road rage.
Yeah. Yes.
and that's typically an involuntary thing for people.
Yeah.
And it's trauma that needs to be healed.
Huh.
So if you know somebody with road rage, then you need to tell them a healing story and get them on that path.
I might just know someone very intimately that has some road rage issues. So. Now, before I met Carrie, essential oils were just a nice smell to me, but she uses them so heavily in her work, even adding them in her food. Mainstream medicine would advise against this, but much of what Carrie works on was historically laughed at by doctors, while now even mainstream medical organizations like the NIH are actively researching it. So I'm gonna keep an open mind with this one. Did you come up with this recipe so that you could use essential oils in it?
This is out of need also, because when you go in the grocery store, one of my pet peeves is it's very difficult to find salad dressings made with oils that are actually good for our bodies.
Yep.
So you can't go wrong with olive oil and lemon juice. It's the easiest way to make a tasty, healthy dressing. So I never make it the same way twice. I chose lemon, lime, basil, and black pepper. I think a drop of lime. And even though we've used the lemon juice, adding the lemon oil just it adds a brightness to the dressing.
That's perfect, Carrie. The spices are exactly right. And it's so like, it's funny because it's a hot day, but this type of warmth is perfect still. Yes. Do you think, is there such a thing as a healed person?
Well, we know we're all aging, right?
Sure.
But I believe the answer is yes.
Surprise.
Yes, surprise.
Okay.
Because I believe a truly healed person is able to be fully present the majority of their waking hours. And when you're fully present, in my opinion, you're able to be fully healed. Because you're fully present with yourself. You're able to be fully present with the people around you.
I have met people like that. It's, I mean, I would have said no. I would have said no. Because healing is a progressive process and life is full of traumas. There's always trauma happening. So even if you're healed now, the next second something will come up.
So it brings up the question or point, though, that, you know, the human body is only designed to live a certain amount of time.
Okay.
But the soul goes on. So the mind, the will, and the emotions we take with us when we leave this earth suit. And to have the mind, the will, and the emotions healed is true healing. Because that's what we take away.
Yeah. Interesting. You're changing my mind, potentially. I'll sit with this.
Let's sit with that.
I'll sit with this.
I love the word for health in Sanskrit. It's swasthya, and it comes from the roots swa, within yourself, and stha, to be fully present or well situated. So to be healthy is to be well situated in yourself, or as Carrie would put it, to be fully present in the moment. And that presence allows us to understand why we're overeating or why we need a hit from that vape, even what the reason is for that neck tightness, what it's trying to protect us from, or why we're actually unhappy or anxious. And it allows us to start healing ourselves and become whole. And stories shared by us or with us are that invitation to become present, to become conscious, so that we can start connecting our bodies, minds, and hearts to do that work. There are so many people out there who have dedicated their whole lives to helping others heal their traumas, and Teresa is one of them. She's a community organizer and founder of multiple initiatives, like the nonprofit The Trauma Project, helping the world in healing trauma. I'm excited to be visiting with her in one of my favorite places, Mexico City.
Something that I think is a beautiful aspect of working in the trauma space that I've come across. Every single person's story has usually started with difficulty in their own journey, them going through their own process of healing and understanding of themselves, and then wanting to share this with other people. Something that is actually such a natural part of our life and death cycle is the aspect of death. And also you see so many people who have a lot of difficulty with aging because there's a lot of fear of mortality.
She and I have known each other for a few years, but today I'm getting to hang out with her one-on-one for the first time. And we'll be cooking congee, a rice porridge that always makes her feel safe and at home. Her healing journey was unfortunately jump-started when her partner suddenly passed in a tragic traffic accident while he was en route to go see her.
Did a yoga teacher training. I very typically moved to Bali.
When in doubt, find an island.
Well, it was all very connected. I was going to Australia to go to the funeral service. And as luck would have it, many people that day before I left, I think it was like 7 people asked me if I was going to go to Bali because it's close. So I went to Bali, did a lot of different types of trainings, went deep into the wellness practice. And I think in all of that practice, it's also where I came into working with plant medicine. It's where I learned about Vipassana, a 10-day silent meditation retreat, and subsequently sat with plant medicine, subsequently went to a 10-day meditation retreat. I think in modern society, there's a lot of wanting things fast, wanting things immediate, kind of like the Amazon model. I want this to arrive at my doorstep, or I want to take a pill and have something go away. Especially with a lot of work with psychedelics and plant medicines, I think there's a misconception that we can turn to something, take it quickly, and have an answer and be healed. And one of the biggest lessons that I really appreciate learning through my work with plant medicine and just generally working through trauma is that healing's actually really slow. Well, there's a little bit of an and. Healing is slow. It's a lifetime thing, especially depending on what you're working through. And at the same time, awareness can happen fast. In between the slowness and the fastness is a big part of the work, which is integration. And, things can happen in the therapist's office or your own different healing modalities. And also what's important to know is how we actually bring what we learn into our everyday lives and how we integrate it into our relationships, into our words, into our actions is also a big part of the healing.
Yeah. Absolutely. It almost is like in your first point where we want these therapies, these medicines, these whatever, to do the work for us, but it's the action that we do in our day-to-day. That's what actually does the healing. Or rather completes the healing. So why is it important to talk about trauma?
Why is it important to talk about trauma?
I don't want to talk about trauma. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, only in due time. It's always in due time. I think it's important. I can speak from my own experience, which is that it was impacting the way that I was able to live. It was impacting my relationships without me knowing. Something that was fascinating to learn was there's something called the ACE score, early childhood, adverse childhood experiences. And the more early childhood adverse experiences that you have, they've directly correlated it to some of the top 10 killers, like lung disease, heart disease, lung cancer, diabetes, obesity, suicidality, depression, alcoholism. And so I think this was a really big realization for the world in connecting what can be something, an experience that happens with you, to what then manifests in your body as illness and disease later on in life.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, let's pick this up.
All right. Oil.
So it sounds like a really big part of all of this actually is friends. People to do this with, to help you, be proxies and to...
Yeah, that has been a really big lesson. I think there's sometimes a desire when it comes to trauma and healing to want to go inwards, because there can be a lot of emotions around it, like shame and guilt and fear, and not to mention that oftentimes when it comes to trauma, in relation with other people, there can be a factor of then having to bring attention and awareness to something else that someone has done. There can be a lot of fear in that. There can be pressure. There can be just outside influences that make it so you feel like you're very much alone.
Yeah.
And what's great is that it's another both and, that a lot of the work, some of the work can happen individually.
Yeah.
And sometimes I believe a lot of the nature of trauma happening interrelationally, that the healing also has to happen in relationship. There's something that within trauma, especially that happens between people, the moment that the trauma occurs, I feel like the relationship or the interworkings of the relationship can get damaged.
Yeah.
Like the ability for me to trust, the ability for me to speak, the ability for me to be heard or witnessed or feel safe with other people. In the same way that that part of the relationship can be damaged when we're doing our healing, it also has to happen in relationship.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that the people involved in your trauma have to be involved in your healing, but you have to have relationship that can help you with that healing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think even if it's with your therapist, if it's with a trusted friend, or even an anonymous group of strangers, that ability to relate, communicate, trust with someone else needs to be restored. So this first step is somehow getting to a part where you realize I'm not the only one who has experienced this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a bit of an epiphany when that happens, because it somehow breaks you out of this part that you felt so alone. Actually, it's something that I have found recently to be an important revelation is all of our healing can be done in this present moment. I think I spent so much of my time looking backwards and trying to understand, so much efforting energy around why did this happen, what were the intentions, what were the motives, and that all still served me in some way or another.
Yeah.
And what's really beautiful is, beautiful and also sad, all of the past can be found in the ways that we are in the present. In our relationships, in our work, in ourselves, in the way that we think about ourselves, the way that we treat ourselves, the way that we move about the world. All of the past can actually be found in the present moment. And so what's great, especially for people who may not have memories, is to know that the healing, we don't have to necessarily look backwards in order to heal.
Yeah. The reason we're looking at the past, if you're looking at the past, is in order to heal the current time anyway, right? Because it's affecting the current time.
Yeah. And that's what, trauma, the way that I kind of shared at dinner table conversations or cooking dinner with friends, is it's something that happened to us in the past. And at that moment that it happened, we didn't necessarily have the faculties to process everything right then and there. And so that imprint or the energy or the memory gets stored, and it almost is like frozen in the body. And to talk a little bit about the brain, when trauma happens, our body creates cortisol, a stress hormone. And cortisol will flood a part of the brain called the hippocampus, which stamps, almost as like the time stamping functionality. It is, this has started and this has ended. And when the brain is flooded with cortisol, it loses that functionality. And so the memory right at that time is almost like floating in this limbo.
Yeah.
And it continues to persist into our future, telling our bodies that this is still happening, even though it's ended.
Yeah.
And so when we're doing work with trauma, it's working with what's alive in our current body, and to now bring our faculties online to be with what we couldn't be with at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Expand our window of tolerance to be with ourselves. And all goes back to self-love anyways. For the sake of saying it, I do hold the belief that I think trauma work is something that can save the world.
Yeah?
Yeah, if you think about it, even just speaking from my own experience, from what place do I make decisions if I'm wounded internally, if I haven't found the understanding how to love myself, have compassion for myself, and therefore extend that love and compassion to others, forgiveness. There are so many universal concepts that come on the path of healing.
Okay.
And when I think about those people who are making global decisions, policymakers, sometimes I see a bunch of angry, grown men who are still little teeny tiny children in their bodies with unresolved wounding.
Yeah.
And instead, if we were able to come to a place where we've done the internal healing, and on that path, there's just no way that you don't find self-compassion, compassion for others, forgiveness, self-love, love of others, connection to your community, connection to the land, a desire to look for solutions that don't involve violence or war. The world would be a better place.
I mean, one thing that's interesting is like what you're talking about, you're saying like healing from trauma, but everything you just said sounds like spiritual enlightenment. Many people would think that that's what that sounds like. No? What's the difference?
I don't think we have enough time to dive into trauma work versus spiritual enlightenment. If you're asking me, yeah, I found them to be one and the same path.
This?
So yeah, why were you interested in talking about trauma?
You know, I think that for me, I see so many people that need to talk about things, don't necessarily know how. Maybe they don't know where to turn, or they're working on it and they don't know that there are people that like are so versed in it. I'm lucky to have somehow come across people like you in my life, be able to learn about these things just by happenstance. I don't think I ever went out actually looking to work on my trauma. But then there I was with all these people that know what they're doing and that could teach me, you know?
And have you found that since going into it, you've had your own experiences with healing?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I've been able to work with the people I love around me a lot better too. I think that's been really wonderful.
What do you think, some salsa matcha?
Hell yes, we're in Mexico.
Mexico?
Absolutely.
Drizzle?
Drizzle, drizzle. Beautiful.
There's also something to say about if you believe in the intergenerational healing that can happen epigenetically.
Yeah.
I see it as if I do this healing now in my time, perhaps it won't pass on to my future generations, to the children that I have.
Absolutely.
And that's my way of contributing to the future.
Your children are already inside of you as eggs.
Yeah.
When you were an egg inside of your mom.
That's right.
And when these traumas are happening throughout these generations, you were already there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we eat?
Yes, I'm so hungry.
Okay, let's go. I'm so excited for this. Buen provecho.
So happy to be sharing a meal with you in Mexico
too.
City. talking about really light topics.
It's always easier with food, and this is really good food. I didn't even grow up eating this, but I still feel like home.
Doesn't it? It just kind of goes in your belly in a certain way, and it feels soft and warm and homey, the perfect amount of umami. Perfect amount of spice.
Ooh, mommy.
Umami.
So, I one time heard a healer talking about how this concept of like, we're hospice workers for the old world order. Meaning, hospice workers, they work with folks who are transitioning. And in that necessary step, they give them kindness, but they help them transition away and bring in the new. What do you think about that? Do you feel like we're in a moment of transition societally? Do you feel like with trauma, healing becoming more and more common and people talking about it more? Do you feel like there's a big transitioning happening?
That is a great question. Very complex. Probably not one answer, as there never is. I feel unlike many of my peers, I would say. I actually feel quite hopeful. Which is funny to come from someone who works in trauma. You might think that it might be very depressing. But I think what I was alluding to earlier was I do feel like we are in a time of healing and that there are more and more people being called to healing and more people stepping into wanting to serve and create more spaces of love and community.
Yeah.
Has that been done before? Probably. Are we doing it better? Maybe. What do you think?
But I want to live in a world that's getting better. And I want to live in a world, and I have plenty of evidence to show that it is. So, that's what I feel.
I agree. We have to.
Yes, we have to. What other choice do we have?
If you're going to choose one way or the other, why not choose the way that gives you hope?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Thank you so much for sharing with me, sharing your journey with me, and for sharing your food with me. This is, like I said, I didn't grow up with this, but it's bringing me home.
Yeah. Well, wherever I am, this will most likely be. And you're always welcome.
Amazing. Thank you.
Love you.
Te agradezco por llegar a mi interior. Tus calores me llevan adentro.
So I've got a hot take. What if becoming a superhero doesn't happen through a radioactive spider bite? What if it happens through healing? By becoming whole, we can save the world. Or at least the part of it that we're a part of. Healing means that we're able to fully show up for ourselves and the people around us, compassionately and with empathy. It allows us to act consciously rather than just react from trauma. And we all have the seed of healing within us, which means that we all have the real start to our superpower within us. But to save the world, it's going to take a lot of us making the decision to hone our superpower through healing. And healing can feel scary. It can feel hard. But often, it leads to more joy and more freedom than we'd ever think was possible. Healing is not just a gift to ourselves, but to future generations and our communities. And I want to help build a happier and freer world. And I hope you do too. My name is Anand Deshpande, and this is Kindred Kitchen.
Hey folks, Anand here. Thanks so much for joining us for the full episode on becoming whole. This is the topic that I think is most relevant. It's the whole point of Kindred Kitchen. I want to help build a better world with all of you folks, so I really appreciate you joining in. Please like and share if you think that this is useful for others and if you like the content. And please go ahead and subscribe, because next week we're going to start another journey. There's no way we can cover everything on this topic in these videos, so please go ahead and comment below, because this is the invitation for us to learn together, to grow together. Until next time, don't forget to share your food and your stories too.
Tell me your story.